And so if you look ahead 25 years from now, how do you see the world?
25 years from now, we're going to be on the other side of this. So we're going to see a significant breakdown in a lot of systems over the course of this decade and into next. But after that, my bet is we're going to see a number of technological advantages be developed in the United States and within its group that allow us to do more with less and which transform the economy into a more sustainable footing. We'll also have had 30 years, 25 years, for this demographic situation to play out, and we will find out what is next. One of the big mysteries right now is we've never, ever in any era had a country with more retirees than working age population. We don't know really what that leads to. We know they're not growing food. We know they're not producing goods. But 25 years from now, that big retiree class is mostly gone. And then we get to see, after 25 years of experimentation, what sort of economic model might replace that. Now, hopefully for the United States and Mexico and Canada, we're going to learn something from all these experimentations, because the Germans are probably going to be at the leading edge of this. And they're not going to go quietly into that good night. They're going to try to survive. Some countries are going to pull it off. But I don't think anyone has an idea of what that system looks like, because n equals 0. We've never been through this before. We're making it up as we go.
And I've heard you talk about the generations that are upcoming in this country, and not with a very rosy perspective. You have a lot of concern about just the temperament, the ideology, the way these kids have been raised, that doesn't lead itself well to adapt to this looming future.
Well, I'm a Gen Xer, so I'm always going to belittle and look down on the millennials, mostly because they deserve it. My big concern moving forward, though, is not so much the millennials, because the millennials exist in large number. They're providing the consumption ballast of today, the investment ballast of tomorrow. They're, to be perfectly blunt, going to save us all. My concern is with the Zoomers, the younger kids 22 and under. There aren't a lot of them. They're our smallest generation ever.
By what factor?
There are about 30% fewer of them than there were millennials at the same age.
And what do you attribute that to?
Well, their parents were Gen X. We were a small generation too. So a small generation generates a small generation, and they were raised in an era of digitization. So an iPad was part of their childhood experience, which means they're a little bit more socially awkward, and they date less, and they are less comfortable around other people. So they are likely to also generate very few children. Now, this is something that the Germans and the Chinese and the Italians have been dealing with for 70 years, smaller and smaller generations. But this is new for us.
How do you see that playing out?
The technology changes. It changes you, you change it. And the Zoomers are the generation who's going to decide what all this interconnectivity means. And if they can figure out how to do that and still have families, we'll be fine. And if they can't, we are starting down the German path. Now, worst case scenario, we still have another 60 years.